Welcome to a Starter and a Chaser podcast with your hosts, Jon Passow and Mari Heaney.
You know, people in glass houses probably shouldn't own birds.
You know, that's a really good point. Oh, hi! Welcome to another episode of a Starter and a Chaser podcast. I am Jon Passow.
And I'm Mari Heaney.
Mara is filling in for Joe, and you can find her at Instagram at
trams.with.mari.
Mari, what are we tasting today?
Well, we have a treat perfect for the cold weather. We are going to Colorado.
With Stranahan's Blue Peak. Love the label on this, by the way.
I know, it's very neat and centered. That blue really pops out.
Nice. So Stranahan started in Colorado, Denver, Colorado in particular. You ever been to Colorado?
Yes, once actually. I went to a concert in Red Rocks. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful there.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've only been to the airport, so that's about but I want to definitely hit more places in Colorado because I've heard it is just amazing.
It's gorgeous, yeah.
So they started this back in 2004 and sold to Proximo Spirits in 2010. It was started by Jess Graber and George Stranahan.
Funny story about those guys. They actually met. Jess Graber was the fireman that's helped save George Stranahan's barn.
And thus started a wonderful relationship. And for those that don't know, George Stranahan also started Flying Dog Brewing Company, I believe in Maryland. So, what are you smelling on this one?
A little bit of honey. To make sure I'm smelling the whiskey and not my hand sanitizer.
Very important.
A little bit of orange too. And then just like a small bit of burnt sugar at the back end is what I pull off.
Like a burnt brown sugar? Or Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Their Blue Peak is a 86 proof whiskey that is 4 years old, and it was aged in number 3 char barrels. But what's even cooler is, you'll notice on the bottle, this is a Solera finish, which means they use the Solera method. Mari, what is the Solera method?
Well, the Solera method typically is used in wine, but it's essentially a stacking of the barrels where they portion out parts of the whiskey or wine and effectively shift it through each barrel so that you have a continuous movement of whiskey, a continuous blend essentially. I'm most familiar with it with the 15-year Solera cask from Glenfiddich, so I'm excited to get this, without the scotch and see how it works with American whiskey.
And typically when they pull out some of that distillate or wine, they put fresh back in so that it's kind of like a fractional blending, fractional aging. So I'm curious. I've never had a whiskey with it, but it sounds like you have had
I'm
it.
Excited.
So we should just dive right in. Prost.
Cheers.
Upon first sip, it's kind of Scotch-like almost, a little bit. Like Scotch meets Irish meets American.
Definitely felt the Irish thing, but with the honey on the nose. But that cask really comes through, and I definitely accredit that to the extra exposure in the cask with that Solera process. It's nice and tannic on the end, a little bit of bitter, just like very much it's like you just went over and popped your popped your whiskey straight out of the cask. It really sits right there on the back end for me.
It tastes very fresh for me. It's a very bright whiskey. I do get a little bit of that honey. It's got this undertone of brown sugar, but it's not like to the intensity of brown sugar. It's like this subtle step below brown sugar, but step above table sugar. And you're right, that cask is very present. The tannins are there, they balance, they don't overwhelm. And it's just a hint of chewiness to it. I see they have a foeder on the front of the label. I'm wondering if that's what they're aging or finishing it in versus just regular barrels. And Blue Peak, for those that haven't been to Colorado or don't know, is named after the actual Blue Peak mountain. It's a peak at 13,000 feet, I think, in elevation. And it seems like they name a lot of their whiskeys after different peaks or different points in Colorado. I almost want to say there's a little spice note in there. It's very faint.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's peppery.
More intense pepper or faint pepper?
Faint pepper, but like not like a heavy black pepper like the rainbow peppercorns.
Okay, all right. So a little pink, a little white, a little black. All right.
Very tasty.
Do you know pink peppercorns aren't actually a peppercorn?
I didn't.
I think they are part of the rose family, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. The white peppercorns are usually just the center of the black peppercorns.
Which part of the peppercorn is your favorite? Let us know in the comments below.
Absolutely. And while you're down there, be sure to hit subscribe and give Mari a follow on Instagram. Well, Mari, what are your final thoughts on Stranahan's Blue Peak Solera?
Definitely a strong whiskey coming out of Colorado. I'm excited to see what other, barrel programs they come up with. And if this is where we're starting, then I can't wait to see where we keep going.
Very good point. I like it. It's light. It's very enjoyable. And that's kind of how I found their yellow label here to be, is just this nice, wonderful, complex, but not overwhelming whiskey. This is my second product of theirs, and they've got something good going for sure. It definitely agrees with my palate, and I can't wait to try some more. And that was today's episode of A Starter and a Chaser podcast with Mari Heaney.
See you next time.
Prost. Now, birds in glass houses.
I mean, think of the echo alone, right?
Oh, I was just thinking of like the droppings everywhere.
Yeah,
No, you shouldn't throw rocks in glass houses. Should you throw birds?
They would probably recover better than rocks.
Possibly.